Hey all, this is a quick introduction into PowerShell Core. What is it? How can you use it efficiently? Why should you know PowerShell Core? And we'll go also over some code samples just to give you an idea and familiarize you with how it all works. So first of all, PowerShell is a cross-platform implementation of PowerShell that works on Windows, Linux, and macOS. So this already gives you tons of benefits, and it also is built on top of the .NET CLR. So it gives you the opportunity to work with native CLR objects, so you can invoke some of the .NET methods that you may know, like the path API that is built into C#. This is something more advanced, and I hope to talk about it in future videos, but for now let's just keep in mind that PowerShell can be scaled out much better than some other scripting languages, and it's also cross-platform, so there are huge benefits to using it. So what to use PowerShell for? What is it good for? Well, it's a scripting language that allows you to manipulate files, their contents, so it may be useful when you're working with any like pipeline solution that you need to automate somehow. Maybe you have some JSONs that you need to parse in a certain way, or you need to parse an XML and do something based on it. Maybe your files are corrupted and contain some kind of illegal characters that you need to clean first before parsing into your final application. Whatever it is that you have to do, and you have to do consistently, you probably want to automate it and then execute it via the PowerShell script or some other script. But as I hope to show you, PowerShell is one of the best tooling available for such solutions. So once you install PowerShell Core, how can you use it? You can launch it from the start menu, of course, and if you selected the option from the installer that you want to also add it into your shortcuts, when you right click in some folder, you'll be also able to open the PowerShell command line directly in that folder. But one neat thing of doing this is when you're in your folder, you just click here and type pwsh, and the command line pops up with the correct folder that you are in. So how to navigate such command line? You may be familiar with the up and down keys. If I press up, I go into the history of the commands I've run previously. So as you can see, I've run the clear command, and I can go even further into the past if I press it once again, and that all works fine. As you can see, there are some tooltips here. So this just tells me that it thinks that I might want to run my script ps1. So if I press the right key, it will do that for me. If I press the space, because I've run previously my script with the switch my variable 3, it prompts me to do that. I can press the right key to also fill that in if I want to, and then I can navigate because it doesn't have any more tips for me with the right and left key as well. If I just delete that, I can also use the filling of data based on the folder that I'm currently in. So if I press the N key, and as you can see in my folder there is an nest folder as well, if I press tab, it will prompt me to fill all of the data that is needed. So you don't have to specify the whole file name, you just press the tab key to scroll through every file in that folder that you're currently in. So those are the basics of the command line. Now let's navigate into the code that you can actually execute from the command line. So here we have an empty script. Let's just see how it works. We can write to the console via the write host method. As you can see, it also has some tooltips for me, and just say hello from PwshCore. If we save that and run it via the my script ps1, as you can see, we get our output, but we want to probably have some parameters in because we want to have some input into our script. We can do that via the param constructor here. I'll just copy here to showcase how it works. So I have one variable that is mandatory, and it's described with this attribute and is of string type. The other variable is also a string, but it's not mandatory. And the third parameter is a switch. So as you probably saw in my showcase of the tooltips in PowerShell, not only we can provide variables, but we can also provide switches. These are just a way to describe the Boolean values in a nice scripting way, because we just can append them and we don't have to specify the value explicitly. So if we run such script here, since the variable 1 is mandatory, it will ask us to supply the value for it. So we can say whatever we want, and then the script executes. So it always ensures that the parameter that is set as mandatory is provided, so that's very nice. As you can see, all of the parameter variables that are supposed to be filled in by the user are a Pascal case, so they start with an uppercase and they are divided by uppercase letters as well. So let's do something more complicated now. Let's suppose that we want to get the list of all of the JSON files that we have here. We have 3 JSON files, one is in a nested folder. Let's do that. We can get the list of files via the get child item method. This is just getting all of the child items. And where do we want to get it? Well, in the current folder that we are in, so this is a dot. You have to know how certain aliases are set for the paths. Dot is the current path you're in. There's also the root and some other things, but you have to look up them online if you want to navigate your PowerShell fluently. And then we just want to say that we want to use recursion because we want to investigate some other nested files as well, and we are only looking for files. So if we want to log them out, we can use a simple for each statement that will iterate over every files that we have here. And let's just copy that and say hello from file. So now if you run this, oh, there is a typo. So this is one thing that is can go wrong with scripting. It is not typed strongly, so those typos can occur, but fortunately you shouldn't be writing a big projects in PowerShell. These are meant as a quick scripting files just to perform some quick action, and then it's all done. So now if we run our script, we'll provide some value for the variable 1, and as you can see, we get the PowerShell script file and all of our JSON files without the folder. Since we want to only get our JSON files, we'll need to exclude it somehow. So there are a few things that you can do. You can definitely use the for each loop and check the extension there, but there is a neater thing that not many developers working with PowerShell know. Let's talk about it. So pipes are a great way to manipulate collections of data, and I think they are very underused in PowerShell scripts. So let's talk about how we can manipulate our collection of files to include only the JSON files and exclude our PowerShell script. So the pipe operator is this line here, vertical line, and we can use it to pass in the output of this command here into it, and then we can do some sort of action on it. So there are two main ways to do that in PowerShell. So first action that we can take on the piped output of the collection is to have the where statement that is denoted with the question mark, and the percent sign denotes the select statement. So you might think of them as I've said, select and where in C#, or map and filter in JavaScript, and their counterparts in other languages. So since we want to filter out non-JSON files, let's just go with the question mark, and then we know that our output is the file, and we have to know that it has the property of extension, and we can check if it is equal to .json. We compare against equality via this dash equal or not equal, and you have to just know that, you have to get familiar with it. So let's see if this will work. So once we run our script, as you can see, the JSON files are here, but the PowerShell script is missing. So let's just talk about the other pipe operator that I've talked about, the select one. Let's just suppose that we want to select the base name of the files that are having the extension JSON. Let's run our script. And as you can see, this is just the file name without the full path, and it all works thanks to those two operators on pipelines. So I just want to show it to you. They are not described properly over the internet, I think, and they can be easily missed. But with those two, I think you can do a lot of stuff. You obviously need to learn the API of PowerShell and .NET to fully utilize it. But once you know which method you want to use, maybe you can just pipe it through the collection manipulation, because basically when you're working with files, you are working with collection of files, and you probably want to include or exclude some of them based on some criteria. And I hope that gives you this spark to learn PowerShell. I hope you enjoy. I plan on doing some more videos on describing the API of PowerShell and how the notation of it all works. And I hope to see you in those videos as well. So thank you for watching. See you.